Hi everyone, I'm going to present you my work entitled Detection of Testosterone Doping in Healthy Women with Normal Menstrual Cycle. Testosterone doping is currently targeted using the urinary biomarkers of the ABP and confirmed with the time-consuming and expensive IRMS analysis. While the implementation of the urinary steroid module has positively improved the targeting for IRMS, this approach still suffers from some sensitivity issues, for example, in case of transdermal testo administration or caused by the hormonal fluctuations during a menstrual cycle in women. To study the sensitivity of the current urinary markers as well as emerging serum steroid markers, we conducted a clinical trial combining the effect of the menstrual cycle and testo gel administration. For that, 14 women volunteers with regular menstrual cycles were recruited in this 3 phases clinical trial. Each phase corresponded to 1 menstrual cycle. So the first cycle was the control phase, and it was followed by the treatment phase during which testo gel was administered daily for 28 days. The dose administered each day corresponded to 10 milligrams of testosterone, and samples were always collected before the administration and thus corresponded to samples collected 24 hours after the application. The third phase corresponded to the post-treatment phase, which was similar to phase 1. Urine samples were analyzed for the urinary steroid profile, while serum and DBS samples were used for blood steroid profile. The effect of the menstrual cycle was evaluated using the data from the control phase, and among the 6 urinary parameters included into the ABP, epitestosterone concentration was the only one to be significantly influenced by the phases of the menstrual cycle, with level much higher in the ovulatory and luteal phases. Consequently, epitestosterone-dependent ratios, so Te and 5-alpha-E, were conversely influenced with higher values in the follicular phase. Furthermore, this ratio had the highest variability among the ratio biomarkers longitudinally monitored in the ABP. On the contrary, no significant effect of the menstrual cycle was reported on the serum concentration of the quantified steroid. The fluctuation of the main female sex hormones correlated well with the urinary epitestosterone concentration, and they were repeatable over the 3 consecutive menstrual cycles. The most affected urinary biomarkers ratios were Te and 5-alpha-E, and in this graph, the effect of the menstrual fluctuation of epitestosterone can also be highlighted. In serum, the concentration of testo and DHT increased significantly during the treatment before returning to baseline level within 2 or 3 days after the end of the treatment. The other steroid hormones, such as androstenedione, were unaffected by testo administration, suggesting that they could be used in a ratio biomarker. The longitudinal urinary steroid profile of each volunteer was evaluated using the Adams training model, and overall the Te and 5-alpha-E ratios returned the most ATPF and were considered as the most diagnostic parameters for the identification of atypical samples linked to testo administration. Most of the time, both parameters were flagged simultaneously. On average, the adaptive model flagged approximately half of the samples during the treatment period. A gap was present during the 2nd and 3rd week of treatment, mostly due to the influence of high epitestosterone and consecutive lower Te and 5-alpha-E returning within range, as seen in this example on the right. For the serum, testo and consequently testo and androstenedione returned the most ATPF, while atypical DHT concentrations were always associated with ATPF for testo or the ratio. The combination of testo and androstenedione improved the detection with 20% more ATPF. Overall, values above the individual threshold were reported for 92% of the samples, and the effect of the menstrual cycle on testosterone could be neglected for the longitudinal monitoring. We may therefore suggest that testo and androstenedione would be used as primary biomarker, while DHT would serve as secondary biomarker. Finally, IRMS analyses were performed on a subset of urine from each week of the treatment phase, and overall, more than half of the tested urine samples did not fulfill the criteria for positivity. The most positive urine samples were reported during the 3rd week of treatment, with the combination of abnormal values for T and the dials. Among the urine samples tested positive by IRMS, the urinary steroid profile was flagged for half of them, while the serum steroid profile was flagged in all corresponding serum samples. The study confirmed that urinary epitestosterone is deeply impacted by the hormonal fluctuation during the menstrual cycle, with a major impact on the epitestosterone-dependent ratios and on their capacity to detect testosterone. Serum biomarkers were much less affected by the menstrual cycle, and the longitudinal monitoring demonstrated high sensitivity and specificity, and were proven as a powerful alternative to urinary steroid profile, especially for targeting IRMS, which demonstrated a limited sensitivity for the detection of T-gel in female. In conclusion, this study underlines that the information of the combined blood and urinary steroid profile and IRMS results should be used as a bundle of evidence to support the scenario of the administration of testosterone. To complement the blood steroid profile approach, a sensitivity LC-MS method was developed and validated for the simultaneous determination of a panel of steroids in dry blood spot. To validate the use of DBS in clinical setting and physiological conditions, the measured concentration in DBS during the control phase of the clinical study was compared with those of serum and demonstrated a good correlation for each steroid. So in conclusion, the method was validated for the quantitative purpose of a panel of steroid in DBS, which could overcome the logistical constraint associated with blood collection. And ultimately, steroid profiling in DBS could represent an efficient targeting method for IRMS analysis in urine. So I want to thank everybody who was involved in the project and you for your attention, and see you soon.